No. I think the simple answer is no.
I can hear you, but like I said, it's like being a couple rooms away.
Well, let me ask you this, Susan. What, if there's technical difficulties, do you want them to call you at the number we always use? The 607 number?
You want, I'm sorry, what?
What number do you want to have people call if they have technical issues?
Oh, 607-322-6232.
Yeah, okay, got it. Great, thank you.
It might make sense if there's a mic or somebody's computer that you could put closer to the selectmen. And then that way it'll be picked up.
Well, we got the camera close to the speaker.
Well, the camera's fine, but you need like a mic that's closer
We got the
to.
camera and its mic are close to the speaker.
Mm. Like it would almost make sense. Al turned on his laptop and you muted yours, John.
That's going to be a problem because I'm the one picking up from the speakers on the mics.
Oh, okay.
We also might be slowing down because there's somebody in the room. This room does not have terrific service.
I mean, what we could do.
I'm going to try a different Ethernet connection. I see this one has more strength.
If you do the public, it's usually stronger in that room.
Yeah, I just noticed that on the chat. Now, is that any better? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right.
I just went on public, which is stronger than the private here.
Yeah, you know, the overall screen was a little bit jerky. It doesn't look as bad now, if I'm moving my hand and catching most of that.
Okay. Do I get to start the live?
The live stream?
Yeah.
Started anytime, actually. You know, that is one of the things that takes a while for that thing to get going, so.
Yeah, I have it up to the point where I just have to push the button there, so you know when.
Go for
I
it.
mean, as long as the live stream works, I can do the minutes from that. And I think I might just turn that on. It's just going to be delayed.
You know, that would be a good thing to say, is it so if people are,
Yeah.
because if we're gonna send the Zoom feed to YouTube and they're watching there, they may be better off going to the live stream feed. It's gonna have better audio.
Yeah. So once it's live streaming, though, that is via the live stream, it's still over the internet.
Correct.
No, over the TV.
The difference is it's these cameras and these mics.
Yeah, there was some confusion, because they thought the live stream was on TV.
No.
Yeah, so not live. But yes, it's a different venue, so you can, check it out. Thanks for coming. Sure. Yeah.
Thanks for carrying around business in Canada.
So is Ginger coming, do you know?
I have no idea.
Oh, still early. Oh.
Can you, Susan, can you make me co-host so I can share screen? Okay. Pam just joined us. And And what I have on the screen is the conservation license plate, the moose plate grantee instructions for the moose plate application. And here is the agenda for those who are at home. Hi, Pam, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. You hear me?
Yes, very well.
Did I hear Pam's voice?
I'm on it. Hey,
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with.
no.
Public is having trouble with the internet. Seems to be working, so.
And,
My computer is saying that the internet is not working on public, but it has to be because I can see participants on Zoom. So,
sometimes when it slows down, I get a message saying it's not working as good as it should, but this looks all okay to me.
okay. And as long as the Zoom participants can be in, I think we're all set to go.
So we got Pam, and we got everybody else in live. Okay, well. Okay, so I played that clock a little slow. I actually have on my computer 5:59. So we'll start in a minute. So Johnny, you're up in about 5 minutes. We'll slide you stuff like
Nothing worse than bitches on you guys.
that. So do they make this with a place to put a straw through?
It's usually with a one-way valve.
No, I had one of those, it was a good one too, and then Bob said, well, you know, that protects you, but not the other.
Well, that's the issue, that valve goes the opposite direction.
But what I do
A
is,
small one-way valve
Oh,
going in, so to stop your droplets going out, but you get strong.
yeah.
what I do with mine with the valve is I tape over it and wear a second mask over it. But I do like it because it is a good, one of the valves is really, it fits around my face well because it's got a good gas.
Okay, so Pam, is this better? She shouted and said that my voice was not clear. Is this better? Okay, I think I just need to keep the mic really close then. And if I fail to do that, I appreciate getting prompted by anybody else in the room here. So, as chair of the Northwood Select Board, and due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order, the public body is authorized to meet electronically. Tonight, we are actually in a mixed mode. We have a physical location, which is Town Hall, where 4 of the Select Board members are. We also have one of our Select Board members who is joining us via Zoom. So the public access tonight to this meeting is via 2 means. One is the Zoom meeting itself. The second is via live stream. We have that running now. So if you go to live stream, you can also get the live feed from that also. And what I would suggest is actually that might be the preferred method, given that maybe the Zoom won't get loaded up too much then. But if there are technical issues, please call Susan. Her number is 607-322-6232. So given that this is an electronic or at least partially electronic meeting, we will be doing roll call votes. And also, if we have problems with the electronic portions of this meeting, we will adjourn the meeting as opposed to continue it. I think we are now all set. I'd like to do a roll call, and then we will have the pledge. So roll call. Let's see, Matt.
Present.
Ken.
Present.
Beth.
Present.
And Pam.
Present.
Okay, so now for the folks that were listening,
Present.
yeah, we heard you, Pam. Thank you. Just saying, Pam is via Zoom, so her voice might not be as loud as some of the other folks. And if I sense that, I might repeat some of what Pam said, just so we're sure that her views get expressed. At this time, I'd like everybody to rise to the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have two items that are library related. The first one is a public hearing. I'm going to ask John to explain the hearing for this item, and then we will have a motion and then a discussion. So John, would you please explain the first item that we're going to have the public hearing on, which is the Moose Plate grant?
The library has obtained a new plate grant to assist in helping in the entranceway. It is a matching grant. Tonight's vote would be to move it. It's for up to $10,000 total, and it would be it need to have a vote to authorize somebody in the town to sign the documentation necessary for it, and the total amount would be $6,491.
John, can you please clarify, you at one point mentioned something about up to 10,000. What did that mean?
That means the town's portion could be up to 10,000, but the project comes in under that. Oh, you're saying no?
It's not a matching grant. It's, it is, we could have received up to $10,000 from the Moose Plate, but they chose to give us what we put in for because that's the actual amount.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, so there's no match on this coming from town funds. It's solely funded by the Moose Plate grant. Thank you, Gail. That was Gail Cody, our library trustee chair. So, Gail, would you like to speak to this, or is this pretty self-explanatory? You'd like to speak to it?
No, it's pretty explanatory.
Okay, what are we going to use the money for?
It's for the front entryway. The sill beam.
There you go. Then the folks at home can see.
The sill beam on the front door, we weren't sure if that was completely rotted away. It isn't. So we need to put in a drain, a French drain in front of the door. And then we're going to have the front door removed because it's never been refinished or anything on the inside. There's some condensation damage. So we're going to have that removed. That will mean that we're going to have a temporary door put up. And while that's in an enclosed area and being refinished. And so it's the door, the French drain, and we're going to have a new door opener put on. That's it.
Okay, and all that's covered by the 6491. Okay.
Oh, and one more thing. One of the pilasters is broken, like conservation or preservationist carpenter who knows how to do that kind of thing, would replace it with the exact kind of design and wood. Because that's what is required by historical buildings.
Okay, thank you. And again, that was Ms. Cody speaking. She's the chair of our library trustees. Okay, at this point, I think I will open it up to the public for comment. I see a few folks from the public here. And I guess, Susan, I'm going to ask you to take a look and see if anybody comes up on Zoom that's requesting to speak. We'll give folks a minute or so to respond to that. While we're waiting for that, does anybody from the public that's in the room here want to speak? Ginger? No? Ted? Okay, so Susan, is anybody indicating that they want to speak to this on Zoom?
Nope.
No? Okay. Then I'm going to close the public hearing and I'm going to ask for a motion. John and Gail, is it appropriate that Gail could be the authority signing for this, given that she's the chair of the library trustees?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I think it would be appropriate to have a motion to have the board accept and authorize the money, authorize us to spend the money, and authorize Gail to do all the signing for it. So it's really three parts. Accept the money, expend the money, and authorize Gail to handle all the signatures associated with this. Would anybody like to make a motion to that effect?
You should indicate who, if you just say who you are every time you say.
Oh, well, I think in this case we know it's that, but who's right?
That's the draft, some rules that will be able to authorize.
Well,
We're accepting, we're spending, we're letting her sign.
Not for a second.
Not right, second. Discussion? Tim?
Is this gonna get done this year, next year?
This year.
This year?
The only part of it this
Hold
year.
on a second, Gail, I'm going to ask you to use the microphone because folks at home might not be able to hear. I'm sorry.
The only part that we can do this year is the French drain. And then the door has to be removed, that'll be in the spring. We have 2 years to complete this.
Okay, that's what.
But we're not going to use 2 years.
Oh, good, perfect, thank you.
Hopefully.
Okay, good. Other questions, comments, discussion? Okay, just checking. And, okay, hearing no discussion, I'm going to have a roll call vote. Matt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Pam?
yes,
Yes. And Hal is yes. Okay, so that passes. We're going to now move on to the budget. For this evening, we have the presentation by the library trustees, and I guess, Donna, you seem to be in the presenter's position, so I assume you are going to actually do the presentation. Yes. Okay, and just so you know, John has your budget on the screen so the folks at home can see it. So if you want to speak to some of those points, feel free to do so.
Well, good evening. I am Donna Bumper, the library director at the Chesley Memorial Library. I would like to start by introducing our library trustees, Gail Cody, chair, Pat Valancourt, secretary, she's not here.
She's on Zoom. I see her on Zoom.
Betty Smith, treasurer, Norma Farrow, who's an alternate, Irene Kreider, alternate, and Margaret Walker, alternate. Margaret is here as well. I'd like to share the statement from the March 31st issue of the Atlantic magazine. America's public libraries have led the ranks of second responders. They pivoted quickly to new ways of offering services to the public before their mission. When libraries closed their doors abruptly, they immediately opened their digital communications, collaboration, and creative activities to reach the public in ways as novel as the virus that forced.
Excuse me. I'm getting a So what you have to do is you have to put the microphone right up next to your
Okay.
mouth. I mean, right up, like I'm doing.
Is that better?
I think-
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I'm getting out, yeah, so keep it really close.
Okay. We have shared the following online resources: author performances, book awards, book discussions, census information, COVID-19 resources, craft, legal assistance, information, musical performances, online book resources, online video resources, reading quest, sing-along, story time, summer reading program, and virtual field trips. We started offering curbside pickup and outside document and notary services after library staff came back to work in the building June 15th. We opened to the public by appointment on September 23rd. The library and its services have remained valuable to the Norfolk communities throughout this pandemic, and we welcome this opportunity to share our 2021 budget report. So with that being said, I'll open it up to the selectmen if you have any questions on any particular line.
Now, Donna, I'm going to suggest you go down to just sort of summarize the main groups. If there's anything unusual in terms of this year versus last year, highlight those, please.
Okay, if you just want me to read each line.
No, I think just sort of highlight anything that you think needs to be, highlighted. So like if there's significant changes in one line versus, others remaining the same, point those out, please, and maybe talk about the overall change in total dollars too, please.
Okay, well, I think one of the lines that will be changing will be the supply line, just because with COVID-19, we'll be spending more post-cleaning supplies. So if you look at line 100-45501-630, you'll see that we've increased that line to $3,120. We budgeted an extra $140 per month for COVID-19 supplies, masks, gloves, extra cleaning, whatever we thought we might need throughout the year. So that was one line that was a little different. I think most of our other lines have been pretty close in line with what was there from the previous budget request year. Salary line, definitely different, but I think that would be a discussion that would be better led by our trustee chair, where the trustees set the salary for the library.
Gail, do you want to speak to anything relative to salaries or anything like that?
Well, because of our library staff haven't received a raise for maybe 5 years, and after last year, we submitted a proposal because we had a salaries, what do they call it? The town did a search for what salaries should be in town. We did our own, and we came up with where our people should be placed on the salary schedule and at what salary they should be, hourly salary they should be at. And then some of our employees, their kids make more money than they do. And we just did not think that was right. So we aimed for $15 an hour, but we didn't go as far as $15 an hour. We kept it under because we wanted to be fair to the town, but we wanted to be fair to our employees. It costs a lot of money to train an employee, and our employees are trained, and they love their public, and our public, our patrons love them. It's just that it would be just really hard to have them go and then train somebody else in their place. So we think it's more valuable to keep them and give them a salary increase based on the kinds of skills they have.
Okay, and just for the public's information, John is showing on the Zoom meeting, the salary recommendations that are detailed out, and all those numbers that Gail is talking about and John's showing carry over into the list that Donna was showing earlier. Okay, at this point, I'll open it up for questions by the select board. So Beth, you go first and then Matt.
So, Gail, a question regarding the salary. So when was the last time you actually received a raise?
Do you remember that?
Close to the mic and Gail, you too, please.
Yeah, I want to say it was 2018 would be, this is the last default budget. I think we had two default budgets in a row, right? So I think it would have been 2018
You mean for salary increase?
for the second increases.
Oh, second.
Thank you.
Matt?
So I know we went through it last year, but just for the edification of those who weren't paying attention last year, can you just talk to us a little bit about the technology assistant position? Because that is the single largest leap in online.
Well, the technology assistant line in last year's budget was not broken out. It was included as part of the aides and assistants. So you're seeing that figure by itself this year. That was the one line that we increased the most, the trustees increased, just because the current salary is really low. So that one particular line, they chose to, the trustees chose to increase that more than the rest of the salaries to bring that in line to what a technology assistant should really be making. But in last year's budget, again, that was part of the aid and assistant line.
So related question, if I may, Donna, how many hours is that library technology assistant working?
25.
So, okay, so that's just a part-time.
Right.
Other questions by the board or other points? Beth?
Under library assistant, you have labor grade 8, step 4. I don't see their current rate on this. So what labor grade are they now if they're not on 8?
Sorry?
They are currently graded. I don't see the 13.
Are they going to step 4 or are they on step?
They are on step 4.
So the higher number is step 5. If they're on 4.
Step 4 is 1462. So that means they're at 1462 now. Sorry, they'll be going to grade 8, step 4. So the 1462. Thank you, Tim.
Okay.
What labor grade are they on now? That's the 1380. 1380 would be step 3. That's 1420. That's step 3. Don't confuse me. So it would be 1378, step 2. Not that. Don't took away my screen.
Well, I was just pulling up the labor grade 8
Okay.
for you.
I have it here.
You were looking at the step that we're proposing, not the step they're on.
I know, I'm asking what step we're on right now.
What that would be probably, like Don said, 3.
Yeah, I think what Beth is,
Labor grade 3, labor grade 8, step 3 is 1420.
she's saying it doesn't seem to match up with the,
That's because they're not on grade, that's not the grade they're on now, and not the step they're on now.
Right, my question was, where are they right now?
What grade are they on now?
Let me see if I can find that stuff.
Yeah, because a grade 8, step 2 is 1378.
Their grade has been changed.
The grade
They
has been
updated
changed
their
and
change
their step.
and their step. That's why you can't match that up right now. We looked at their skills and looked at what the grades look like, and that's why we changed that. Yeah.
So I do see a 1380 on labor grade 5, step 7. Would that be it possibly? I'm just trying to find the 1380 somewhere on the sheet.
You don't see labor grade 8 at 13.
I'm looking for where they are now.
Well, they're not. Okay.
You know what I mean? So my question is, I would like to know, are they on 5 and they're proposing to labor grade 8?
We're proposing labor grade 8.
But are they on 5 now? Are they on labor grade 5, step 7 now?
That's what I have to.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense because the top pay for labor grade 5 is $17.48 versus the top grade for labor grade 8 is $20.24. And a living wage in New Hampshire is $20 an hour. So I understand your reasoning for putting them there. I just want to know where they are now.
Okay, I think, John, this is maybe a point that you can relax. But I think this is a point for going forward. I think you really hit a good point that we want to know where they are now, where they are in the future. And so for future presentations, I think John, that we need to have that. And, you know, quite frankly, if some of the people are being paid some number that doesn't match the pay scale, okay, we understand that too, but we're never going to get our arms around this if we don't start knowing at least where we think we were and where we're going. And then second, as part of this, not part of the budget season, is we're going to have to revisit all of these relative to every position and really go through those. I don't think that's an exercise we can do as part of the budget process, but I think we can do it and need to do it after the budget process is over. So having the information up front, and that's why we're sort of growing on this, it'll help us do a better job when we go to do that. So just bear with us, and we'll ultimately, as a town, figure this all out and get everything sort of in all the right sequences and stuff, so that hopefully then, as we go through this next year, it'll all start to fall in place a little bit better. So, I think for now, that maybe all we can do is focus on what they are at and ask, you know, if you could go back as a follow-up question, give us that information, because I can't see Ginger, but I suspect that the budget committee will ask that question. So you might as well just get it and have it ready. And that'll say maybe Ginger asking that question explicitly. And that, John, that's just gonna have to go for really all
Well, most of the budgets are putting all of the change increases that are being requested in one personnel administration line.
of them. Right, so we can summarize all that in one.
Except for police and library.
Okay, well, this is one of the exceptions, so, okay. Yeah, please, yeah.
And I appreciate you looking and trying to keep our wages competitive and making sure that, you know, the top pay is, you know, a good wage. So I appreciate all the time you're putting into that.
Right, I have the actual hourly wage for each position, but I did not bring the grading step to match that hourly wage. So I can answer the questions that they're making and what we're proposing, but I did not bring what the current amount of grading step.
Yeah, I just want to make sure they still have room to grow that way.
Okay, other question? No, how about you, Matt?
So, the only other line that really pokes out to me is the contracted services. Is that increase due to increased fees for contract services currently being utilized, or are we looking at new services?
Most of the increases were just increases that occurred, our default budget was 2018. We developed the figures we're using for the budget in 2017. It's things like the pest control, copier maintenance, water services, all of those amounts went up to make the difference between this year's budget and what we're asking for. One change was when the town redid the telephone system, we had to install a new panic alarm because our panic alarm did not work with the new phone system, digital versus analog. So we had to add a cellular monitoring key to that line as well to allow the alarm to work. So just most of it was the small increases that added up over the last 3 years.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, further questions by the board? Hold on, let me just, I don't see Pam hold up a sign or anything, so I'm gonna sort of assume.
I see Pam, she's there.
Yeah,
I'm
but
here.
She's not holding up her.
I'm here now. I'm here.
You have a question, Pam?
Hello.
Yes, Pam, I can.
Hello,
Okay.
That's good.
hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hold on a second. I'm just gonna,
I have a question.
yeah, the question is for Pam. Do you have a question?
Yes. So the question I have is bottom line is a $8,152 increase, bottom line over 2020. And my question is on this year, I see the current money to date spent. So do you anticipating all of the 2020 funds, or is there going to be a residual, either returned back to the town or retained? Perhaps, I don't know if you retain 20% or not, but I'm just curious, do we expect to come in under this year?
I think it will be, you're talking about the bottom line. Pam?
Bottom line for this year, what's your expectations?
Yeah, so I just printed off the expense report today before I came on. Are you looking at the one that shows the 918 encumbrance, including encumbrances for the bottom line expenditure?
I
It's
think you-
September 18th.
Okay.
I'm looking bottom line current year, 100.
On September 18th, I think we've expended roughly about 10,000 more between that date and this date. We're about 142. So I believe we might come in a little under. It's a little hard to tell with a couple months remaining into the budget. We seem to have been pretty lucky with some of the extra supplies and PPE that we've been able to get from the state. So COVID has created a very unusual library budget this year where there were things we did not do, such as performances, expenditures because we were not open to the public for a few months that I feel like we will have some money left at the end of the year.
This doesn't get
Okay,
used up
so
by Thursday.
possible residual funds. Okay.
Other questions, Pam?
She said possible residual funds.
Yeah. She's confirming what Donna said, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions by the board? Matt?
Not a question, but just a comment. I did the math. It's effectively a 4% increase for a department that did a stellar job of serving this community during really tough times. So the numbers, the bottom line, if we're talking about it, seems awfully fair.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Tim?
We were able to get the laptops from the COVID fund. I missed the last email with them. They're still on order, Donna, or?
We have them in. I believe 3 of them have been paid for, and the other 3 we should get invoiced before the October 15th deadline. And Catherine did say that those would be covered by COVID funds.
Thank you for staying on top of that. I'm not seeing any other questions.
Thank you for all of this. I know it's difficult. We participate in the summer program, so that was fun.
Gail, do you have anything further to say? Okay, if not, thank you, Donna. Appreciate all the documentation. And appreciate also all the statistics and everything you sent along with it. It's very good. It really shows, the effort that you're putting out. So thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you ever find from Manchester Paving how to fix the little tire marks in the parking lot?
Actually, I'll let Gail answer that question.
Okay. We're digressing here a little bit, but go ahead.
I asked my husband, did he have an idea, and he did. It's a patching thing. It was very easy. So we patched it twice because it dried out, and then we went back and patched it again.
get more attaching to them.
I got some stuff on my driveway too. Okay. I guess that's it for the library budget, and again, Donna, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we're gonna move on to ongoing business. First up under that are the minutes from, well, you gotta help me out here, the minutes from the 22nd, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, so, any comments or corrections?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Any edits, additions, changes to the minutes on the 22nd? Matt?
Page 2, line 10, the amount of the playground grant is incorrect. The grant is for $88,810. I wish there was an extra $100,000 on there, but
The grant people probably don't make the same typos.
they probably don't.
Yeah, okay, okay, so that's one amendment. Any other amendments?
Page 2, number 10.
You don't think we're going to recourse back to the green tours, huh?
I can try that.
Yeah,
Tell us in our minutes.
it's right there.
We can vote it.
Okay, well, in that case, any other edits? Okay, hearing none, then do I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended by Matt?
So moved by Matt.
Second by that?
Second by Beth. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Tim?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Pam? Whoops. Am I missing the Zoom meeting here? No.
Yes.
James
Okay,
says yes.
Jim said yes, and Hal says yes. Okay, very good, so that's the minutes.
Yes.
Oh, Matt, sorry. My system is all screwed up here, sorry. And Matt is yes also. Thank you for speaking up. Okay, then we're on to the consent agenda. John, would you mind reading off the consent agenda? Once John's read it off, then I'll open it up to the board to see if they want to take any specific items off the board, off the consent agenda. Any individual selectman can ask for any item to come off. You're not going to vote on that. If somebody feels it's inappropriate to be on the consent agenda and want to vote on it separately, just one individual can make that happen. So, John, why don't you read off the consent agenda and then I'll ask.
Payroll manifest October 7th, batch 15097, $61,470.94. Accounts payable manifest dated October 7th, batch 15096, $432,829.24. As way of clarification, this account manifest is the one that has the school payment. The one last week had the paving. So that's what was the 300,000 plus last week. This week it's the school.
Right. John, also, we printed out the expenditure report.
There is the
I saw the
expenditure.
correct total, that's right, Ginger?
Yes.
Okay.
So in there you have both the expenditure report and the revenue report for 9 months of the year.
Yeah, actually, just a comment on that, the revenue looks to be holding up really pretty well. Actually, there's a couple of places where we're actually doing a little bit better than I expected, so we keep our fingers crossed, but right now, the revenue seems to be holding up. Okay, so that's the consent agenda. Does anybody want to take anything off the consent agenda? Seeing that we don't, Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Tim Bowley, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Back second?
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Beth?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Matt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And Hal is yes. Okay, the consent agenda is approved. And I'll just note again for the public that both of those manifests, we actually reviewed earlier on in detail, but we do want to list them out so the public knows what we're spending on, how much money we're spending. Okay, that's the consent agenda. I'm going to now move on to John's reports and items for board action. So on these items, I'm going to have John go over what he wants to cover. And then once he's covered it, then I'll ask for a motion, we'll have a discussion, and then vote if necessary. So John, why don't you work your way down your list, please?
Okay, the first item I want to bring up is the swap shop. In discussion with Chris, we believe that the 6-foot distancing would allow no more than 2 people in there at any time. If one were in attendance, then only one member of the public or 2 members of the public with no attendant inside. And that is a recommendation for the board to adopt for a swap shop limit.
Okay, so I think what's going on here is essentially the same thing as we've done for town hall and what we've done for the community center. In other words, we're setting the limit, and then
I'm not on camera, but you,
okay, we're setting the limit, and then it's really up to the people that are there, the supervisors, the chairman of the committee, whoever is responsible for that meeting, to enforce the rules and keep the distances and the number of people to the minimum or to the maximum that we specify. So we're not changing the parameters in terms of how we're doing this. It's just that we haven't set that for the swap shop. And so now we're saying we have a recommendation as to what that number should be. Does everybody understand the position? Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion regarding that? Matt?
I'll move to set the limit at the swap shop for concurrent. Well, we'll set the limit, the occupancy of the swap shop at 2.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Back second?
Okay, I'll open it up for discussion. Matt?
I just want us to not limit ourselves with the language too tightly that a parent with 2 kids wouldn't be able to bring them into the swap shop without an attendant. So is it worthwhile to have language around people cohabitating or something like that to allow for those? Or do we want to just set our limits and allow common sense to be the guiding principle for whomever is enforcing it?
I see what you're saying.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
The motion could be no more than 2 people unless they're in the same bubble.
Perfect.
I would hope that the swap shop attendees though, feel comfortable with that. I mean, I'm okay with just keeping it at 2, just to try it first. We have volunteers, I don't want them to be concerned if I came with my 3 kids.
But if it was
I know.
2 adults who don't live together, the attendee would have to leave the building anyway. So as soon as we hit that 2-person number, the attendee is outside.
So would it be just 1 at a time then? No, we talked with Chris last week, and I think that, unless the volunteers, it's been closed so long, I know people really want to have it open, they want to make sure the volunteers feel comfortable.
I guess the question is how important it is for the attendant to be in the building while transactions are happening, right?
What are they gonna do? Chris, slide down the mic.
Chris, can you move up to the next mic so you're on camera? No, yeah. The next mic is on camera.
So originally my thought was to have originally my thought was to have the two attendants, the attendant plus two people allowed. So more than two people enter the building and then the attendant will step outside while the two people. If they're separate cars, I don't want people from separate cars in the same building at the same time anyways. So if one person comes over and another person comes over from another car, the attendant's gonna have to make a decision one at a time. So I gotta put this thought into it with the attendants and talk to them, because if there's not gonna be an attendant on site, it's gonna be shut down. I'm not gonna open that. Like I said.
No, you're saying attendant, you mean a volunteer?
The volunteer, correct.
Yeah.
So being and the other girls that are there.
Okay, so we're always gonna have an
Perhaps
attendant.
one household.
Two, yeah.
If there's two people from the household, they tend to leave if he doesn't want me to go and you to go because we live in different houses at the same time.
Right, and I agree with that.
So I think that the motion should say like, not just two people, but household.
Is it two households or one household at a time?
Two people from one household or.
Yeah, so we need to, and I'll speak, I wouldn't want to be there with somebody that
Right.
was just involved, that's the kind of way to go.
Yeah,
So
like,
then,
I gotta talk to the girls anyways, and I'll be in them tomorrow and find out if the attendants are gonna be actually there. Because like I said, if there's not an attendant on site to open the building, then it's not gonna open.
so are you really saying it's one bubble at a time in the building?
With a maximum of 2 people
From the same
from the
household.
same household. Right, so one household, one bubble at a time, with a maximum of 2 people, which would then, correct me if I'm wrong, would allow for the attendants to be in the building for a maximum occupancy of 3, like 2 of those people being together.
Okay, and you're comfortable with that, Chris, you think that works?
Yeah, there's more than room there,
And they can step out in a little foyer area.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Matt, would you be willing to amend your?
Yep, I'll amend my motion to include that language, of 2
Okay.
people from the same household.
One household at a time.
One household at a time,
Plus the attendant?
plus the attendant.
Plus the attendant. Okay, is everybody clear on the motion? Okay, now let's discuss that.
I have a
more.
question.
Okay,
Question.
Who has a question? Go ahead, Pam,
Question.
please.
Yeah, so just for clarity, remember, I'm on a 6-second delay, so give me a second to speak. Matt, you said 2 people, same household, and the attendant, but everybody has to be wearing masks.
Correct.
Yes, Pam, you got that correct.
Okay. Thank you for clarity.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to make sure we all understood. And Tim has a question.
Tim, how?
Yeah, you're all wearing masks.
How's it gonna be sanitized in between each person in the session? You know, the attendant gonna have their own supplies? That's the town, the volunteer run thing, the town.
So we supply Lysol, they spray down Lysol, there should be a sign saying, if you take something, you should bring it home and disinfect it.
But I'm saying, like, after we go in, look around, who's gonna wipe, the doorknob and stuff before, like, you two go in?
Basically, it's gonna be up to the attendant. I'll have the discussion before the building's ever open, and I'll have a discussion with them to talk to them and actually tell them that, after everybody comes in and goes, I do have a gallon of bleach, so we can glue, with the 3-to-1 solution, stuff spray the doorknobs, things like that.
So these are all volunteers, do they need to sign something that doesn't come back on us?
I'll tell you what, Tim, let's get, I'm just trying to think, should we set the limit first and then get into the operational stuff, just so, I'm worried that we're gonna forget the vote. It's really what's gonna happen. And then we can move into the operational questions and maybe, get into a little bit more detail before we forget that. So if everybody's comfortable on the definition of how we can be there, let's vote on that, and then Tim, as soon as we're done with that, we'll swing back to what you were asking about. So I'm gonna do a roll call vote. So Pam, you're up first. How do you vote?
Yes,
Thank you. Matt,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, so we set the limit. Now let's discuss some of the working parameters. So Tim, why don't you start with that again, please?
So if the volunteers are gonna have to write stuff down after each person goes through, and what is the town's liability if it volunteers if something happens?
I wonder if this is something that maybe we should ask Bob Young about. And get his
As far as
guide.
volunteer basis, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what.
Instructions like, only touch what you're going to take.
Right.
There's common sense instructions, have some hand sanitizer there when they come in and when they leave.
Yeah.
Like,
I
when we're
think-
shopping at Target, same thing.
Hopefully parents are gonna keep an eye on their kids, you know, like the kid in the candy shop, you know. So I just wanna make sure everybody's safe.
Or maybe no children should be going right now. Maybe it's us. Do you want this, honey? You know, it's all about the door.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Does emergency still cover that? I mean, if
Well,
we just say-
I thought the rule was you have to be over 12 to go, to leave the vehicle at the transfer station.
So it's almost like default anyway. Yeah, so if they're younger than that, they're gonna have to hold up stuff. Okay, so maybe, does everybody feel comfortable with at least the basics that we just talked about, and then let's get Bob Young out there and make sure that Bob and Dina are comfortable before we open it.
We will post a board sign asking people to wash their hands and bring whatever you take home to sanitize.
Is there a sign at our regular transfer station that says 12-year-old, the ever changing car?
Yeah, ready to go.
Okay, any further discussion on the operations that are associated with these?
I just think we're gonna be prepared for an onslaught in the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've already had a lot of feedback on it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
File together.
Yep, I got a whole pile myself, so. But, you know, there's opportunities there now too, so, you know, I'm taking my pickup truck over there. Okay, John, what's up next?
Question?
Go ahead, Pam.
Yeah, hi, Hal. Chris, I hate to ask, but will you be putting signs up on the swap shop about the limit of persons?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion before I turn it over to John? Okay, very good. John, what's up next?
I want to reflect in the minutes that the tax deeded property 10974 was repurchased.
Oh,
The check actually crossed in the mail to pay off all of the taxes, not just the tax year. So what we did is we did not record the deed that had been written. We'll file a big note from these minutes and an email from the attorney, which said that was the easiest way. We're going to treat it as a repurchase. Now, there was a second check that came in late towards one of the tax deeded properties that was nowhere near enough money, and I'm mailing the check back with a note that in order to repurchase this property, you've got to come up with, in that case, it's $5,800. And so, but this one, they mailed the check, they actually mailed a little more than we wanted, which covered the per diem, so it was just what we would have asked, almost what we would have asked for. We would have asked for money for the lawyer to do a deed, but since we didn't have to do a deed, we took that, and that's how we handled that one, for 10974.
very good. So no need to vote on that, that was just handled administratively,
I just
correct?
wanted the board to be aware of it administratively, that there's one less tax deeded property than originally stated.
Good.
I would like to recommend the appointment, well, actually, it comes from Marissa, of ballot clerks Ken Curley and Joanna Can't read my own writing, now that's pretty bad, isn't it? Joanna, Paul, do you remember the name? We sent it out on Adobe for you to sign.
Karen Bassett and.
We did Karen last week.
Yeah, we did Karen, last week we did Karen, I apologize on that, Paul will get the name.
Oh.
The next item has to do with trick or treat, while we're waiting for Paul.
Okay.
For trick or treat, the chief has set October 31st from 4 to 7. And the following recommendations, that they follow all CDC recommendations. They include a cloth mask with the child's costume. They hand out candy instead of kids reaching into a bowl, or you create some other fun way to distribute the candy. You wipe the candy wrappers with Lysol wipes or leave the candy untouched for 2 days. Bring hand sanitizer with you and clean hands frequently. Avoid going trick-or-treating in large groups. If you or anyone in your family is not feeling well, stay home. And if you would prefer trick-or-treaters not visit, consider leaving your exterior lights off to let them know you are not participating. Those are the suggestions that Glenn, our police chief, has, along with the date of October 31st from 4 to 7. He also welcomes comments from, for example, Bob Young or others who may have other suggestions, but that's what the suggestions are right now.
Okay, so two things on that. Let's make sure we post that, John, on the website. And then the second thing is, I just want to be real clear, that's trick or treat, not trunk or treat.
Trick or treat, yeah.
Trick or treat going house to house and stuff like that. So that's a separate venue. And John, again, if you just please make sure it's clearly posted so the public knows.
Right. Now that brings up the next subject, which is trunk or treat. And there are ideas floating around about that happening. I believe the Rec Commission on the 8th will be discussing these suggestions. But I did want to note that that may occur, but that's something that Rec is considering how to do it with the right social distancing, car separation, all of the rest of the things that go with it.
Okay, so that's in just a couple of days, so then maybe by next meeting, Matt, you might be back with
Sure, yeah, I mean, and if you'd like, I can give a 10-second synopsis. So, we figured it out in terms of our ability to separate cars at a good distance. We're going to ask people to set up tables 6 feet from the back of their trunk and spread out candy on those tables for trick-or-treaters to come by. We're going to require pre-registration. We're not going to allow anybody to come up who is not also setting up a car to hand out candy. So then we've got a group to car ratio of 1. Everyone is going to be directional traffic flow. So everybody's going to move clockwise. So in a perfect world, just everything picks one spot. People will be clearly instructed to not pile up in front of one vehicle. Masks is going to be required. Trying to think of what else we learned the other day. So we'll have sanitizer spread out through the event. We feel pretty good about our ability to do it safely. We had a good plan in place. Then we went to a presentation from NHMA, and we added a few additional layers after that. So I think after our meeting on the 8th, we'll know for sure whether or not the commission is going to recommend it moving forward or not.
So there's questions on this, Beth?
Will it be just for Norfolk residents?
Yep, so thank you. In order to get into the event, you'll either need a transfer station / beach sticker on your car or registration showing the Norfolk event. And like I said, we're going to require pre-registration to give us a sense of how many vehicles to accept.
That's good, because school starting a few days after.
Yep.
Yeah. Tim?
So just for the record, so if I don't show up and set up a table, I can't bring my kids. I can't instruct, is that what?
Correct.
Okay, that's what you do.
Yeah, I think, Matt, the pre-registration is good, because if you have to do some type of contact tracing, you have a list already, you're not asking people to do it while you're there. I think that's preemptively very good.
You can have it out in big field.
Correct, yep, in the backfield and the report fields.
That's positive.
I to, post it, Facebook, whatever, that you would need a transfer station sticker, so people have time to get one.
It's on the, registration page and it'll be on all of our marketing materials. Same with mask.
Okay, well, good luck on the discussions, and then hopefully we'll see you back with the final version on, let's see what we got, like it's, 13. Okay, good. John, what's up next?
Okay, the next item I have is the ballot clerks, Kim Curley and Joanna Chase.
Oh, Johanna, isn't a ballot clerk? Oh, she's the supervisor of the checklist, so maybe she will. Okay.
To have them sworn in as ballot clerks.
Okay, so we need a motion to have Ken Curley and Johanna Chase.
We have a motion, we're excited, on the computer, right?
Right, I just bring it up to
So,
information.
Oh. So,
Well, yeah, a vote would be good.
yeah, I think it's a vote.
Second, Kim?
Yes, because we haven't actually voted to appoint them, you might have
Oh,
signed
yeah.
it with the paper, but I think we need to vote,
Kim gets off up.
yeah. So, we have a motion by that. I'm sorry for not speaking into the mic. A motion by that and a second by Ken to appoint Ken Curley and Johanna Chase as ballot clerk. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Matt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes,
And Hal is yes. So thank you for, appreciate the people helping. It's going to be a busy election. What's up next, John?
Okay, the next item has to do with announcement that the Board of Selectmen last week made an employment offer. It has been accepted. So I'm going to ask the board tonight to sign the oath of office for Melissa Rowe to be the Deputy Town Clerk Tax Collector. She is a Northwood resident and comes with a strong legal secretarial type background.
Did you say deputy?
Deputy Town Clerk Tax Collector.
Correct, okay.
And the way this works is Marissa, the town clerk, recommends her, and then the board acts upon Marissa's recommendation.
Okay, so has Marissa made that recommendation?
For Melissa.
Yes.
This is going to be fun.
It's gonna be very confusing.
I'm going to learn my R's and my L's very well.
So has Marissa made the recommendation
Yes.
to us for Melissa?
Yes,
Good.
Use their last name, Teresa Rowe.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so then I guess we need a motion to appoint her as the deputy clerk. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved by Matt?
Deputy Town Clerk Tax Collector.
Oh, sorry, deputy, okay, I just said, sorry, town clerk tax clerk.
And this
That's what I
is pending everything.
Yes, this was pending the background check, the criminal background check that we run on everyone. That's in her offer letter that it's conditional on that.
Do you have to put out steps and grades as well, or? I'll second that.
Yeah, I can announce it when we come to know.
I usually do.
Okay, so, yeah, let's just be clear. At the last meeting, we authorized,
It's grade 11, step 15 at 23.43. No, I'm sorry. It's grade 16, step 2 at $20.36. $20.36, grade 16, step 2.
so we're not voting on that. That's already been done. We authorized John to act on that the last time. What we're voting on this time around is to appoint her as the deputy town clerk / tax collector. And who made the motion, please, Matt, and you seconded. Is there any further discussion on that? Any further questions? Ken, how do you vote?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Pam?
yes,
Matt,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Thank you.
I think we can get this signed physically here in the room. Okay, the next item has to do with the bridge project. The electric lines were moved yesterday. The trimming was all done. The cable and phone lines are scheduled to be moved tomorrow so that the project will proceed. The road will be closed starting shortly. And there are reader board signs up there. It's a fairly long detour, so people will want to make sure they know which side of the bridge, wherever they want to go on that road is, so that they go in from the right end.
Okay, that's good news.
And the last item I wanted to bring up relates to the EpiPen. My recommendation is that we continue as we are, that we do enhanced pest control, but that we not provide EpiPens. It does not appear like we have liability if we do not supply them. I believe that the best course of action is to call the ambulance and have the medical professionals come and supply them. So that's my recommendation, that after all the research we've done, that we vote not to proceed down the route of trying to have EpiPens at the transfer station.
Okay, so that's your recommendation, but I'll open it up for board discussion / motions if they want to make any. If you want to keep things as is, you don't need to do anything. And you can, it's always subject to being revisited at any time. So.
Thank you, John, for looking into it. Check everything.
Yeah, frankly, the cold weather will take care of it, but come spring, we ought to make sure we get a good rigorous pest control in place for those little flying insects.
Okay, items, John?
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. That was a good list. I'm going to move on to old business. In this case, it's really old business. Yeah. Okay, so just to refresh folks, at the end of last year, 2019, we're not looking for comments here, Beth. I'm just trying to say at the end of the year, we decided to approve this project and the encumbered funds from 2019. We encumbered $28,000 thereabouts, and the total project cost is $53,000, of which the energy program and grants covers the balance. So we only pay $28,000. The projected savings are order of magnitude $13,000 or $14,000. So it's approximately 45% return on investment. When we approved it last year, they told us, okay, well, now get in line. Well, we're at the head of the list. Woohoo! So it took a long time to get there, but John, you confirmed we can still use the original funds, correct? That we had encumbered.
Yes.
So really, all we're doing tonight is authorizing to move forward with the project. The funding has already been allowed for. So in this case, I'm looking for a motion to move the project forward.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so that was Matt and then Beth. Is there discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Beth?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And Hal is yes. So, John, I think part of what we want to do is we'll want to get a schedule on that, and then we'll also want to talk about, depending on when the project gets done, how we fold the savings into the proposed budget. So that's something to think about. But first, obviously, we need to know when the project's going to get done.
Agreed.
Okay,
Excuse me,
oh, I'm sorry.
but this evening's just an estimate, so how are we going to definitely know how to offset that? Should we wait a year if we have an idea? I hate to offset, you know, so think, okay, we're gonna save 43%, and we really don't.
You know, I'm gonna go back and read the contract again, but I'm pretty certain these are guaranteed savings. But maybe that should be part of the budget discussion also. I mean, I understand you're being conservative, don't hang chickens before they're hatched. So I'll go read the contract a little more closely, but I'm almost certain that it was either guaranteed or essentially they estimated so conservatively that they've never missed. It's something like that.
The good news is we wind up in default again, our electricity lines will actually be correct again. So it's tell you.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's not. Okay, any other discussion or questions on that? Okay, if not, let's see, I guess we'll do the electric pole assessment. I guess, John, you're gonna have to guide us on this, because I'm still not clear exactly what we gotta do on this. I know you had some stuff in there that we were gonna be participating in the court or something, but can you explain it or go through it for us? And if we need to make a motion or an action, guide us as to what that is.
Yes, the town has been taken to court over its assessment on Consolidated Communications of Northern New England. What the town should have done is 2 years ago, licensed all the poles and updated all the pole licenses with a phrase that contained taxation language so that you could tax the poles, and that did not occur. So since we can't do it any sooner, we want to make sure we get it done before April 1st of next year. Now, what it involves is, as you can see, we're going to have to defend that suit and deal with the situation we're in. So how this works is that we have to identify all the pole license holders within the community. So Eversource, Consolidated Communication, perhaps Atlantic Broadband has a couple. Some towns have more utility providers than others that have poles up there that we're taxing. Once we identify those, we send notice of when the public hearing will be. So we will be setting a date for a public hearing in the future if you start down this course, if you authorize me to start this. And I will figure out when we're able to have all the utilities notified in enough time to then have 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks we need to have, 14 days before the hearing, we need to make sure we've notified them. So we'll notify them. Probably 3 weeks later, we'll have the public hearing. After the public hearing, the board has to pass a resolution. The resolution would look something like this right there is a notice of the public hearing that we would have to send out. And then the resolution would be that in accordance with the requirement of 7223I, that's one of the taxation statutes, this license is granted subject to the condition that, and then you get into your property tax language. So that is the process that we will go through, which will fix this problem for next year. We'll defend the court case for this year the best we can with the limitations we have, but we definitely strongly recommend the board proceed. So I need a motion for me to proceed with setting up a public hearing regarding the licensure of utility poles having their license amended to include taxation language.
Okay, so John, just an obvious question, so I'm going to ask it preemptively. Have we been sending out tax bills on these poles up to this point?
Yes.
And so now, that because we don't have the exact wording and all this other documentation in place, we're getting challenged on that.
We're being challenged. Now, that doesn't mean we're necessarily going to lose, but it weakens our case.
weakens our case, but if we get you acting on this, then that might show that.
Well, I'm not sure it will help us on the case that I showed you were filed, but it will help going forward. So we shouldn't get a case next year.
Okay. Does everybody understand, or are there other questions about this? So basically what we're going to be doing is asking John to start taking action to put us in position to address this situation. There's no specific action we're taking, no hearings or anything like that tonight.
So John, when are you looking to do this?
As soon, I'm looking to probably do it in November, December. I mean, we just have to do it before April 1st, and with budgets throughout October, we probably won't do it in October. We won't do it Thanksgiving, Christmas, depending upon the cycle. I will work it around how we're coming with the budget. It's not a real long public hearing usually. I mean, most citizens are not going to object to taxing utilities. There will be a few, believe it or not, but not most.
Okay. Does everybody understand? So at this point, what I'm looking for is a motion for John to initiate action. Do I have a motion? Okay, do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Tim. Further discussion on this. Tim?
Do you know rough golf? Do you know a rough ballpark of what the lawyers and, what's the cost us, or any numbers?
John, you want to speak to that?
No, we don't, but the last time I had to defend all of these was, I think there were 60 towns that went in together and we split the cost, and we kept getting bills for several $100s this month and that month, and it was divided between everybody. This time, we're probably going to be on our own because there aren't that many that, I don't think there are that many that failed. We're trying to find out who they are and see if we can share the legal costs in the defense. But last time, I think we had, there were like 3 different law firms that between them had over 100 towns in the state that were fighting the case. This time, I don't know how many there'll be or what the division of costs will be. Frankly, at some point, you don't want to spend a lot of legal money if you can settle something. And frankly, and that one even I got out of by settling, by having the appraiser reach a reasonable deal with the consolidated. So depends upon how bad our legal case is, how easy we will be able to settle. But I mean, they're spending legal dollars too, even though they're in-house lawyers. It's it's some costs that they're using up, but I can't give you a number right now. But in my theory, you don't want to spend more in legal than you're going to save in taxation.
Right. I would like to get the hearing done as soon as possible, that way it's one thing checked off the list for a new TA comes in, a situation from 2 years ago, sometime now.
Good point. I'll move it as soon as we can then.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good. And Tim, to your point, I recollect reading about this again in the past. Most of the challenges came where there was towns that weren't asking for, as John said, a quote, reasonable tax. They were looking to really make some money on these. And that's where the biggest challenges were and the biggest costs. So I don't think ours are that far out of line from, again, going back a year. So I think John has a good chance of really sorting this out without a whole lot. But he'll keep us going on that.
John,
Keep us appraised.
do you know what the revenue is that we would be collecting from these polls? Any idea?
I can go get it real quick.
John, for next meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Report it back at the next meeting.
It's on the MS1 form that I sent out to you. The utilities are listed
I'm
up
sure it's a
separately.
lot less than the legal fees would be.
Yeah.
$6,000 or so.
Well, actually, I have it in my computer. I won't take it.
Okay, well, we'll just give you a minute there. Pardon? Oh, okay, so you made a motion and that seconded? Okay. This is a motion to act, to authorize John to act.
I just want to.
Yeah,
It is
Okay, so motion by Beth, second by Tim, to authorize John to act on this. Roll call vote. Pam,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. So again, we're not spending any money at this point, so it's just gonna move the ball down the field. As we go further down, he'll tell us how the legal talks are gonna shake out, and we can make a firm decision then. But we need to take some steps to move this along.
Make sure, Hal, you stay close to the mic. Susan, just was
Oh.
double checking. That motion on EMC was to proceed as well, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, she didn't, she needs to.
sorry, Susan,
Yeah, please.
sorry.
Proceed on this one.
I'll try to stay facing one way.
Total utility taxation in the state is 6 million, in the state. In the town is 6,338,400. Now, not all of that is consolidated, but you basically work it 6
The
million.
valuation, the valuation.
The valuation is 6 million, so the tax off that would be
100,000.
120,000, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just real rough. Okay. Okay, so that's everything. I think I need a non-public for B.
But hold on a second, John. Do we want to talk about winter preparation, or is that part of what we're gonna cover under?
Go for it.
Okay, so, Chris is here. Chris, you want to talk a little bit about prep for the winter?
Close to the mic.
Yeah, close to the mic, please.
As far as prep for the winter. So basically all trucks have been serviced, headgears and stuff are already in place from last year. Sand and salt is, been in the fall. We usually keep those, ahead of time. Aside from that, Benevettos, I contacted them, they're gonna be sending us over another contract for, sand. And Molten Salt is gonna be sending over another contract for, our salt line. So, as of January 1st, our contract will be up to this fiscal year.
Okay, so the supply, the salt and sand go year to year, not season to season, so to speak. Okay. What about drivers and stuff like that? I know we're gonna talk some hiring, but.
Aside from that, I have two other contractors that want to come on, with trucks. So basically, we put 3 more trucks on the town. So it'll alleviate a lot of strain on my guys and the contractors that I have now, so we can disperse the routes a little bit better than what we have. So aside from that, everything's actually fine.
So how many drivers total?
I think it'll be 8 trucks total,
2 of which are ours?
2 of which are ours, so 6 contractors, yeah.
Yeah,
I know 6 contractors are all one-time.
No, 2 6-wheelers.
So what is the rate for them, and, you know, break down what, you know,
The rate's been the same since, I think, 2006, which is 95 an hour for 6-wheelers, 75 for
95,
25. So, we'll discuss that later on. Well, maybe a small increase. Because, I have some people that showed interest, but they said they won't come over for. You're only talking maybe $5 or $6 difference, so.
So in the budget, we didn't budget for 8 trucks to apply, so how are we gonna do that?
My budget for plowing should be still at the same at 110,000, I have not utilized all of it. So there's definitely some wiggle room. Not to say that I won't use it all of it in 1 year, but I'd like to have some cushion.
okay. So when we get to the budget, and we go over that in a little bit more detail and revisit that, I just wanted to make sure that we were taking all the steps necessary to make sure we preemptively lined up folks, you know, we knew about the contracts and stuff.
So that's all taken care of. The only thing I did contact, Sullivan Tire, I need tires on the 6-wheeler, on the 1-ton. Are we froze right now, as far as expenditures? Okay, so if that's the case, I have enough money in my maintenance line.
We're gonna have to be careful, there's no doubt about that, but, you know, that's between you and
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
I mean,
I watch my lines with the Hawks, so I should have enough money in his line anyways.
so let's just be clear, I mean, John, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but, I mean, tires are expensive, but they aren't over your limit, are they, John?
No, tires we can do.
Okay.
The question becomes, as far as how much you've got left, there's 47,000 encumbered in snow and ice contracted services, plus there's 34,000 you haven't expended. So out of the $167,000 snow and ice budget, there's actually over 100,000 left. So you must have had a really good spring.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. That could be running 4 inches of crust the whole winter.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
With all the new guys coming in town, and we have all their certificates, insurance, and liability, and whatever we need them.
When it comes to actually hiring them, I have them at my desk. Okay. So when it comes into hiring, talking to you guys, then I'll bring anything forward to you. That'll be next one.
Yeah, I mean, I insist that we have an I-9 and a certificate of insurance for everybody. So that's.
I don't know if we should wait until November. We have had snow before in October, so maybe the next meeting.
So all my contracts that are still present are still current this year, so. I mean, I still have my contract, it's basically the new hires that I'm gonna be bringing on. So I mean, if needs be, I can always get through. But.
Yeah, we had almost a foot of snow on Halloween.
Yeah.
We have had snow.
Last year, the year before.
No, it wasn't that long ago.
Okay, sounds good, Chris. Any other questions for Chris? Just appreciate you being
Are
proactive.
we doing anything on the Venice Bridge Road for our townspeople? We are using the detour. We're not gonna touch that, right?
What's that, Venice Ridge Road? Yeah. So Venice Ridge Road has been rough rated, and I had backhoe with a small grader when we go through and doing that. I was gonna have messengers, but their graders enormous. So I'm gonna have backhoe do that, and,
Oh, I don't know.
yeah, so, they'll be able to rough it up and make it good. But as far as the worst one, that's already been rough rated by me.
But my understanding is the signs are not gonna direct people
Yeah,
that
no.
way.
No, the local people will.
It'll be local traffic,
Yeah.
local people won't.
Locals will go there.
So, okay.
Very good, Chris. So now, going into.
I'm sorry, just before we go into non-public, the MS1 is now publicly available, yes?
Yes, it's,
Can we actually, I was asked by the school board chair if they could get a copy of that, because they're getting ready to reshuffle the SAU. And they're looking at, Stratford's dropping out of the SAU, so they're gonna have some interesting negotiations with Nottingham.
there was a woman today who called and I sent her a copy, working for the school board doing that. I can't remember her name, but.
Never mind, it sounds like they're all set. Thank you.
If I can tell you who it went to.
Yeah,
Okay, if that's the case, then John, what did you say we're going into non-public for?
A and B.
A and B.
Personnel.
Personnel hiring. Okay, so let's just discuss the logistics of how this is gonna work. Pam is gonna still stay on Zoom. John, you're gonna keep the Zoom going, I assume?
Yes, we'll put, Susan can put, I can't find the name right now. Susan will, be putting, people into,
Chat room?
yeah.
Oh,
in the wait room.
Please, sorry, yeah, sorry.
So Susan, if, you could make, I'm co-host, so I could do it anyway, couldn't I?
I just need to stop do your votes and then I'll stop the recordings.
let's go into non-public, we'll kill that screen.
Yeah, then we leave Pam in the room.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we have all the logistics worked out. Okay, so we're all set, so Paul, kill the light.
We need to vote.
Oh, sorry.
We've had lots of comments. People are saying that it's really difficult to understand us. Our voices have been muffled, so I'm sorry that it's muffled and it's hard to hear us. We're doing our best.
Before we go into non-public, do you want to ask for public comment, closing public comment? Since we have people in the room.
We're going to open citizens.
I'm sorry. Gee, okay.
We do have company.
I think she has some.
You came in after the meeting started, I think.
You guys started a few minutes early.
You're
Oh,
just,
no.
East End kind of goes slow.
Okay, so we're doing citizens forum, and, we'll also then, when James is done, we'll open it up for anybody on Zoom. Ginger, if you would please, keep it to 3 minutes. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, just keep on.
No, she's got to get to a mic closer.
Just a second. You say that mic's not picking her up?
I can't hear a word she's saying.
Yeah, why don't you go to Chris? This may be our problem, if this mic is not. Yep, the battery is a problem.
Yeah, we never changed it out. I knew I was gonna forget that.
Are those the handheld mics?
Yes.
Okay.
Those batteries haven't been changed since March, so I'm sure they're dead.
Give it a try. Just say 1, 2, 3 or something.
Susan, can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh,
I can hear you.
Go ahead.
okay, just a few
I
comments.
can hear you muffled.
Meeting, as far as the library, I know that the selectmen have spent some time looking at the salary increases. I would just like to remind everyone that we're talking 50 cents to 82 cents an hour. That's the difference between what they're currently making and what they're proposing. And it seems that we need to have a common wage scale. That there's a lot of confusion over what step are they on now and what step are they going to. I'd like to know when the selectmen review the financial statement. The last few meetings, it's just been a consent agenda item. I don't know if you have discussed the status each month as part of your work. But it would probably be a good idea to know exactly where you're at this point, because you're adding this and paying for that, and you don't want to be running short. One other question I have is, can the funds that were encumbered in 2019 for the electric overhaul that you were discussing earlier, do those need to be used in 2020? I don't know that they can be re-encumbered to be utilized in 2021. That's a question, because I don't know, but it might be wise to check that out.
Yeah, I think they have to be done this year.
It would make sense because it wasn't, until used when you did it, I don't think.
Do your comments.
That's my comments.
Okay. Thank you, Ginger. Appreciate it. Also appreciate you being here in person.
Thank
Okay, thank you too. Okay, so my apologies for that. I skipped right over that, but I guess I didn't see. I probably did ask that earlier, but anyway, my apologies.
You're not used to asking for final public comments because you haven't been meeting in person.
Well, no, we don't.
Well, we didn't start with any either, so that's what we're on.
That's what I'm saying. We're only doing them in the beginning.
Really? You're not doing a final comment any longer?
Nobody sends them in during the meeting.
No, it's on the.
No. Sorry for cutting folks off, but it's not a discussion at this point.
Good night, guys.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, so do I have a motion to go into non-public for A and C?
Kim, so move.
Matt seconds.
Roll call vote, Matt,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
You said yes.
what you did?
It was A, B, and C, correct?
A and C.
Um,
Oh, did I get that wrong? Did you want A and B?
Yes, A, B, and C.
oh, all right.
Okay, so you wanna take the motion back?
Yes. I think I seconded.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion, okay, so can we amend that to A, B, and C, please?
Second.
second by Matt. I'm gonna continue with the same order. Matt,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes,
and Howard, yes. Okay, so Paul, we'll ask you to leave.
Mr. Chairman, while the technology is being turned off, can we just get a 2 or 3 minute